What is going on, everybody? This is Mike with Parallel Gaming. Today, I want to bring to you my Eustass Captain Kidd deck profile. So, I've taken this deck to a couple locals. I've been tweaking it. I've been playing it ever since it came out. I went undefeated in 2 locals so far, back to back. The first locals was 4 rounds, and the one I went undefeated in last night was 5 rounds. I'm going to get into the deck list, and then I'll talk about some of the matchups and how some of the cards work. Also, I'll be throwing the full deck list at the end, so you can go there and find it. So for our events, we're only running 4, and that is Paradise Waterfall. This is a great card. It costs 1, gives your leader or one of your characters plus 2k, and then it restands something. Also, when it comes out of your life, it can KO something that's rested that costs 4 or less. Usually what you're doing with this card is using it on one of your blockers or your big kids to kind of just, save them. And then with your blockers, you can block with them again, especially with your laws. So there's just a lot of versatility with this card, and that's why we keep it at 4. But that's the only option that we run. Continuing with the 1-drops, we have 4 Jewelry Bonnie. This card is pretty amazing. It helps you search for your supernovas, so it costs 1. You look at the top 5 and you grab a card with the supernovas type in it. This is really what you want to see in your opening hand, because you want to be able to, search for things like your big kid or your laws, or just even grabbing a Scratch Mana Poo for a 2k counter is just huge. Definitely keep this at 4 in any Eustass Kid deck. Super good. Moving on with more than 1-drops, we're running 4 Mononosuke. I've seen some lists run less than 4. This is just, your 8th Bonnie. Essentially, it can search for Izo, which is a 2k. It can search for your Okikus, which are just a powerhouse against red and a lot of those early aggressive decks. I'll get into her in later because she's just such a good card. But yeah, he doesn't grab everything that Bonnie does grab, but he's still card advantage if you can keep him around for your turns. Card advantage is just so important in this game, so there's no reason not to run, 8 searchers. Last 1-drop is Beige Capone. He's just a 1k blocker. You can search with him with Bonnie. He usually is coming down to save, your searchers or your big kid. It feels so good when you can just slap one of these down and play another blocker with kid's ability, and you just know that your kid's going to be safe on the field, and you're just going to watch your opponent try to calculate how they can kill their kid, and they just can't deal with the blockers, and it just feels so strong. Having this guy is super awesome. He saves your searchers, he saves your kid. Nothing more to say about him. Moving on to the 2-drops, we run 4 Nekomushis. These can also be searched with Mononosuke. They rest to characters that cost 3,000 or less. So a lot of times these are coming down in the very early game to help deal with things on the board, that they play. Like say they play a Robin, and you just, slap one of those down and then swing at it with your leader and take it out. But then all of a sudden their turn just whiffed, In late game too, he can be really good. Say if someone puts down like a 1k blocker and you need to just get those last 2 swings in with Kid, you can play him down, rest that blocker, and then just get through with the rest of your attacks. So pretty good. You could honestly probably cut this down to 3 if you needed some space, but I'd like to play 3 to 4. I think that's a good spot. Moving on, Scratch Mana Poo. I run 4 of him, mostly just because of that 2k counter. He has an ability. It's never come up for me. It's usually just, I have a 2k counter in hand. I haven't had to use him to attack yet. It just feels, I don't know, the 2k counter is just so much better than anything that he could do. Rest one of your opponent's Dawn cards. This is what he does when you're attacking. You had to spend a Dawn. He's 3,000. So you're really spending 2 Dawn just to hit 5k, and that's just a bad threshold. So keep him in your hand. He's a 2k counter. He doesn't need to be more than that. Moving on. We run 4 of the Killer blockers. This card is just a blocker. If he has a Dawn under him, and when he blocks, if you have 3 or more characters, you draw a card. This is another card that you can just drop off of your big kid, and if you have a Dawn under him, your opponent's going to try to remove them. Then they're going to have to use, Gum Fire Pistol or whatever, removal that they want to use for something better, but they have to kill this because it has a Dawn under it. And when it's a blocker, It can get you card advantage. You can play it off of Kidd. You can search it off of Bonnie. There's just no reason not to run this at 4 in your deck. It has a warranty counter. This card is just super good. Oftentimes, it's going to die from some kind of removal effect or get tapped down, but still, you need blockers to save your Kidd, and this guy just does so much in the deck. Now I move on to the 3 drops. Okiku. This card is so good. It's a powerhouse. You put 1 Dawn under it when attacking. You can arrest one of your opponent's characters that cost 5 or less. So you're tapping no blockers, you're controlling their board. There's just so much versatility with this card. Yeah, it doesn't have a counter, but a lot of times it doesn't need to. Early game, this card is just crazy good. They have to get rid of it, or you're just gonna, keep killing their board. Late game, you can play it and can help you out. I've had a lot of games where it's come down and tapped a Chopper or a Capone, and helps me get that final swing. One of the games I played last night against the Law character, he had the 6K Law blocker, and he didn't realize that this could tap down a 5 cost or less. So I was able to swing, have that rested, and then he just didn't have anything else, so I could swing with Kidd for the game. So this card just has so much versatility, and it's so good. Next is Izo. She's searchable off of Mononosuke, so is Okiku. So this card, it's mostly a 2K counter in your hands, but sometimes you're going to have to play it because you don't have a Nekomushi, and you need to rest something down and then kill whatever you rested with it. So it's just another rester. It's really good. A lot of times it's really good to play this, rest something, swing at it, and the next turn play one of your Law blockers to bounce it to your hand and then play something better. And then you have another 2K in hand, and you just got so much mileage out of that. If you can set up the plays with that. Next, we're running 4 of the killers from the structure deck. A lot of people are playing Zoro. A lot of people are playing Law. This card just deals with it. It comes out as your life. It can deal with the Zoro. It can just drain them of their tempo. You can even play a Cat Viper and Izo with it, rest their thing, and just make sure you get rid of it. It's just a good card. It's got a counter and an effect. And even a lot of times, if you're resting like little things down, he's just a 3K swing. He's swinging at their little things on board. Just a great card to have in the deck. Next, we only run 2 Rizo. I want to bump this card up to 3 because just having card advantage is huge. And anything you can play with your big Kidd card is just, so much value. He's got a counter. His effect is when attacking once per turn. If you have 2 or more rested characters, you draw 1 card. So he's going to swing, draw you a card. He counts himself as rested, so if you have like a Bonnie or Mononosuke down and you swing with him and one of those is rested, you draw a card. And you're getting a card off of Mononosuke or Bonnie. So there's just so much synergy with that. Again, I'd like to run it at 3, but you maybe could run Cub Nekomushi. This card can be super good. Sometimes it's just a counter. I'd like to try it out with 3 to see it some more and get some further testing with that. Now moving on to the top end, we have 4 Trafalgar Law. He's a 6K for 5 blocker. When you play him, you can return one of your characters and then play a character that costs 3 or less from your hand. So you notice this deck is pretty low to the ground. A lot of 1, 2, and 3s. That's because of him and your Eustass Captain Kidd that I'll get into in a minute. Oftentimes he'll come down, like I said, you play an Izu, tap something down, play him, bounce the Izu, play something like Okiku or Killer. Sometimes I'll just swing with an Okiku and then play this, bounce the Okiku, and then play that Okiku again, just so it's not rested and they can't swing over that Okiku. So a lot of mileage you can get out of this card. He's searchable with Bonnie. You can even play Bonnie, get her effect, play this guy, bounce the Bonnie. It's just, there's so many things you can do with this card. It can really come in clutch. It is in the killable range for Kaido and the Gum pistol, but a lot of times you just get so much value from it. And honestly, if they can get rid of those cards and use this on this, sometimes that's not the worst thing in the world, and you kind of want to do that just so you can bait them out. And you can, get some of that removal out of their hands so you can have this guy on the field. We run 4 of this Eustass Captain Kidd. This is the best green card. It's so good. On the turn it comes down, you can activate its main effect where you rest it and you play a character that costs 3 or less. So that can be your blockers, that can be your Kikus, that can be your Nekomushi if you needed to tap something down. You typically, though, the turn that you play this guy is going to be a pretty weak turn just because you're spending 8 Dawn to play him. So you're not going to be doing much more. You're usually spending that 8, putting the 1 under him so you can do his other effect, which is they have to attack him. He's the only thing they can attack if he's rested and has a Dawn under him. And that's really what makes him so strong. So usually the turn you're playing him, he's coming down. You're resting him to play a blocker. And if you have 1 more Dawn up, you're probably going to play like a Capone to have 2 blockers to, really make sure that he's the only thing they can swing at and that you can protect him with your blockers. And usually you just want to build a big hand with this deck when you have this guy down. So if they do get through your blockers, you can just save him and then just get so much mileage out of the deck and, really start just like beating them down with your leader. I don't know if I went over his effect earlier, but you pay 3 Dawn and you can trash a card to set this leader's active. So that's so much mileage you get out of your Dawn just with this leader. If you put 7 Dawn under him and you're swinging for 12 and then you pay 3 and restand and swing for 12 again, like that's huge. That's just, he's your bomb. A lot of this deck is low to the ground. You have 4 8 drops, 4 5 drops, so you're just getting those down, and this, you really want to just close the game out with this leader. A lot of times there's pretty easy things to discard, like if you have Yokiku late game, she's not a counter, she's not doing anything in your hand. You might have an extra kid in your hand. Say you have like 1 or 2 on the field and you have a 3rd one in hand. It's okay to just go ahead and get rid of that and then swing with this, and you'll just get so much mileage out of this leader. So the matchups I played, the first locals, I played against 3 Kaidos and 1 Zoro. The Zoro matchup is kind of the ones you want to see just because, they're playing little things on the field. You're controlling them with things like Okiku and Nekomushi. And, you're just chipping at them with their life. So you're just wearing them down. The Kaido matchup, that's really dependent on what Kaido sees a lot of times and what you see. Like if you can see the best Kid line, but Kaido can see the best Kaido line, and they're usually going to win if they see their line like Onigashima Queen into 9-drop Kaido. It's going to just be really hard to deal with that. The deck just plays so much blockers. Sometimes it can be hard to deal with. But I managed to win those matchups. Some of the guys just got unlucky and didn't see their bombs. So, I capitalized on that. And then the 5-round locals, I played against 2 Zoro, 1 Dofi, and 2 Trafalgar Laws, the red-green leader. I would say Zoro and Trafalgar Law, those are just matchups you want to see because they're aggressive. You're board control. You're just clearing their board, chipping away at their life, not giving them very many cards, and just taking them to the late game where this becomes better and your leader just becomes better. It's kind of the same deal with Law, just they need 5 characters on the field to activate his effect. So you just make sure that they never have 5 characters on the field and they can activate that effect just as little as possible and capitalize on that. I haven't played against blue very much with Dofi, but one of the things with Dofi is you're playing the top card of your deck. It's coming and rested, and that just saves you from doing an Izo and a Kiku and a Nekomushi. You're just going to calm down and you're just going to swing over that card. So yeah, they're playing it for 1 and swinging for 7, but you're just going to be able to control their board. And that's mainly what you want to do with this deck is just control the board, drop the kid, and, swing with your big kid from there. Yeah, that's all I have for this deck profile. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Follow us on all the other socials. I'm going to be putting a link to those. I'll keep y'all posted on how it does. Have a good one. Peace.